It's no surprise that George Clooney is loaded with money, and he's pretty passionate about real estate. Let's take a look inside George Clooney's impressive property portfolio. Lake Como Villa. When it comes to George Clooney, his incredible acting and filmmaking skills have made him tons of money. He's a fan of living life the Italian way, and when he came across the Lake Como Villa, he immediately fell in love with it, setting a goal for himself to buy the villa. George Clooney is not the only rich person who has bought a villa in Lake Como. When people express their intentions of buying a fancy piece of property in Italy, Lake Como is a pretty popular destination that they explore. After marrying his gorgeous girlfriend and starting a family with her, George Clooney has taken a much more mature approach to life and has started buying houses rather than splurging his money on other things. One of these houses include the Lake Como Villa, which is massive, and the couple usually spends their summer holidays with their children in this villa. It's reported that George Clooney bought this magnificent villa for $11.7 million, and it has a total of 25 rooms, making it more than enough to host George Clooney and his entire family. But before we get into more details about George Clooney's impressive property portfolio, if you're liking our content so far, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification button. That way you'll be notified every time we post a new video, so you can stay updated about what's going on with some of your favorite celebrities and the many luxuries of life that they're accustomed to. Studio City Mansion. Even though George Clooney has bought multiple properties, giving himself the liberty to go on a vacation wherever he wants to, his main home is in Los Angeles. Being one of the biggest names in Hollywood, it only makes sense that you spend most of your time in Los Angeles and make a home there for your retreat. When George Clooney was first starting his career, he moved to Los Angeles and was practically living in his car. However, after some success, George Clooney's bank account started to get loaded with money, and within no time, he was able to afford a fancy home for himself. George Clooney bought a 6-room studio mansion for himself and paid a total of $3 million for his property. The mansion was bought by George and Amal Clooney and was decided to be the place where the duo would raise their twins. Even though the house was purchased for just $3 million, the duo has spent a ton of money in renovating the house and have completed renovations last year. Sonning Eye. If George Clooney ever finds himself in England, or any of his family members are in England, accommodation does not tend to be a problem for them. Amongst the many properties that George Clooney owns, his property in Berkshire is one of them. The house is located by the beautiful River Thames and is enveloped by breathtaking scenic views. In addition to the house being extremely magnificent, the area itself is a huge bonus and is enough to convince anyone to buy a piece of property there if they can afford it. George and Amal Clooney are reported to have bought their gorgeous mansion back in 2016, and the house features a ton of amenities that make it even more attractive. It's reported that there's an indoor cinema that can host up to 12 people, a swimming pool, and several other well-furnished rooms, alongside an ample amount of outdoor space. The house is furnished with elegant furniture, giving it the perfect classy touch of the culture that prevails in Great Britain. With wooden floors and furniture, and ample amount of sunlight, it's the perfect place to live in. Private Island. Well, mansions are not the only piece of property that George Clooney likes to spend his money on. When you have as much money as George and Amal Clooney, buying another piece of property does not really cause much of a dent in your bank account. Who buys more houses when you can buy an entire island for yourself? Yes, you heard it right. George and Amal Clooney have their own private island. Owning a private island has become quite a popular trend amongst celebrities, and George Clooney and Amal Clooney quickly jumped on the trend, grabbing their favorite island and owning it. The couple reportedly spent a total of $13 million when they bought an island in South Oxfordshire. The island the couple bought is not extremely large, but is big enough to be sufficient for George Clooney and his family. The island is located a very small distance from London, and even features a magnificent mansion that the duo decided to get renovated according to their own preferences. The house is furnished with eccentric furniture and even has a nursery for George Clooney and Amal Clooney's children. It's definitely the perfect retreat for the family when they feel like taking a break from the hustle and bustle of the real world and getting some private time to themselves. Well, have you ever pondered over the idea of owning your own private island like George Clooney and several other A-list celebrities? We have to admit, George Clooney definitely has an impressive property portfolio, especially his villa in Lake Como, which is now worth over $100 million. Which one of George Clooney's properties fascinates you the most? Let us know in the comments below where you intend to buy properties if you have a ton of money, and whether or not you think George Clooney should invest in more properties.